In this video, I survived 50 days in a hardcore skyblock. This meant that I spawned on a cramped small island and I had to work with the limited resources given to me to progress through the game. And since this is in hardcore mode, I would have to somehow manage to survive without dying even once, with respawning not even being an option. But without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. Day 1, I started off by chopping down the tree and I only managed to lose one sapling. And the next thing I did was make a cobblestone farm, and I was super careful not to mess it up and turn the lava into obsidian. I also made a slight improvement with my cobblestone farm right away, with waterlogging a stair block just to improve it a little bit more. And once I had enough cobble, I started by expanding the island using slabs to increase the amount of blocks that I had. And the tree that I replanted also regrew right in front of me, and of course immediately caught on fire. I also had to be sure not to break all of the grass blocks, since if they were all gone, then I wouldn't be able to get them back. When night came along, I realized that these first few days were going to be very long since I didn't have a bed, and getting a bed was my #1 priority just because of phantoms. And the rest of the night, I spent farming wood and cobble. On day 2, I decided it was time to bridge over to the sand island. I also got really worried while bridging over with there being this strange bug with blocks not rendering when I was placing them. And once I got over to the island, I looted the chest, and I had to make sure not to touch the sand or else it would update the blocks and they would all fall into the void. When I got back, I placed all of the obsidian to make a portal. I was going to have to start the fire using wood blocks since I didn't have a flint and steel to light the portal. And after a while of waiting, it finally lit up. Once the portal lit, I went straight into the nether and looted the chest. For this skyblock world, I just wanted to clarify that I updated the chest beforehand to include a nether wart to make potion brewing more accessible, since in 1.16 you can now obtain soul sand in skyblock, and I think it would make the late game of this challenge a bit more interesting. And when I got back from the nether, I was finally able to make an infinite water source. And for the rest of the night, I just continued to farm cobble and wood. Day 3 was kind of just a boring day and was mostly me just gathering cobble to build a mob farm. I improved the cobblestone farm just a bit by putting a trapdoor on the end, that way I could just hold down my mouse without breaking the dirt. And while farming cobble, my sleep deprivation finally caught up to me and I was attacked by a phantom. Luckily I killed it no sweat and I got a phantom membrane. Day 4, I started to build part of the mob farm. I couldn't finish it all in one day, but I was able to get a good portion of it done. I also had to hide in my cobblestone farm for the rest of the night and I collected more cobble. Day 5, I continued to work on the mob farm, with the top platform being now finished by the end of the day. It was semi-functional during the night, with some mobs falling down from it, and once again I hid in the cobblestone farm for the rest of the night. Day 6, I once again continued to work on the mob farm. While going up it, I had to be cautious that there were no creepers that were still up there from the previous night. And by the end of the day, I was almost finished closing it off, but unfortunately I ran out of cobblestone. And so once again, I hid in the cobblestone farm for the rest of the night. And on day 7, I built the tube of the mob farm using slabs to just save on cobble. And finally, I finished the roof of the farm, removed all of the torches, and this farm was finally ready to run. As soon as I went down, it was already starting to work. And the first thing I did was wait for a few spiders to die, and I was finally able to make a bed. On day 8, now that I had bones, I was able to make bone meal and get seeds from spawning grass. And so I went ahead and made a wheat farm to solve my food problem. I also noticed that there were some spiders that were slipping out from the top of the mob farm tube, so I fixed it by just adding some slabs at the top. And on day 9, it was just another boring day of collecting cobble, but it was for a good cause. I was going to start to build a gold farm in the nether. This would allow me to start bartering with gold to get a ton of useful items that I definitely needed. And on day 10, once I had enough cobble, I started to work on the gold farm. The first step of the farm was to build the killing chamber, and that's exactly what I did. And that's pretty much all I did for day 10. On day 11, now that I had the killing chamber finished, all I had to do was make a platform that the pigmen would spawn on, and that's exactly what I did. And once I had the spawning platform and the killing chamber set up, the farm was ready to test out. While running back to the kill chamber, a ghast spawned out of nowhere and tried to kill me. This was probably going to be the only time that a ghast would be a problem. And so I made a bow and I shot one of the pigmen to start the farm. Immediately when killing the pigmen, I got a bunch of golden experience and the farm seemed to be working pretty well. And then while I was making sure that the pigmen were spawning, that same ghast came out of nowhere and shot a fireball at me. I knew I could survive a fireball from a ghast, but what I didn't expect was it to end up destroying the portal too. So on day 12, the first thing I did was take revenge and exterminate that ghast. Once it was taken care of, I began to brainstorm on how I was going to relight the portal. I soon realized that I could barter with the piglin to get a fire charge, and so I could relight it that way. I immediately started to obtain and barter as much gold as I could, and after a good amount of time bartering, I still had no fire charges dropping. And I realized actually I had some iron ingots and gravel, and so I was able to make a flint and steel. So once I made the flint and steel, I was finally able to leave the nether. And when I got back, I just spent the rest of the day expanding the island. On day 13, I just continued to expand the island some more. I also decided it would be a good idea to put some cobble walls around the island just to feel a bit safer while walking around. Once I had a good amount of space to build on, I decided it was time to finally build myself a house. I only had access to a limited amount of blocks, so I really couldn't make a house that was too detailed, and I decided that I would mostly just use stone brick and oak wood to build the house out of. Day 14, I spent collecting the wood that I needed to start building the first floor, and I began to work on the house. For the floor, I was going to make this kind of checkered pattern using wood and stripped wood that I thought looked pretty nice. I also wanted to keep the walls simple, and I just used stone brick. I didn't have access to glass yet in the game, so I was forced to use trapdoors as makeshift windows, and they didn't look half bad. On day 15, the first change I made to the house was to actually swap the windows to fences and use trapdoors as shutters. While getting more wood, I realized that I had actually gotten a birch sapling from the chest in the nether. With there not being a whole lot of blocks I had access to, I knew this had to be a block I would use in my build. So I spent the rest of the day harvesting a bunch of birch wood that I would use for the build. Day 16, I immediately swapped the oak floor with the birch one, and I kept the same checkered pattern as before. I also witnessed a birch tree grow right in front of an innocent pigman, which was horrific to watch. And for the last part of the day, all I did was just build up the walls of the house. On day 17, I started adding some interior things in the house, such as furnaces and chests, and once I had all that set up, I spent the rest of the day moving items into the house and sorting them into specific chests. On day 18, I began to put a roof on my house. For the roof, I was going to use an outline of oak wood, with the rest of the roof being birch wood. I also noticed that a chicken jockey had spawned in my mob farm, which was super important, and so I killed the zombie and I made a pen for the chicken. Unfortunately, the chickens that the baby zombies ride don't actually drop any eggs, so if I wanted to start a farm, I was going to need to find another one. On day 19, I put the finishing touches on the exterior of the house, with the roof now being complete. All that I needed to do now was to make a second floor inside of the house. On day 20, I decided to replace the second level floor with slabs just to give it a bit more headspace in the first level. I also added this little window in the second floor, that way I could look out to the island from inside. I also wanted to make the house a bit more cozy, so I decided the best way to do that was to put some carpet down. Finally, I noticed that there was a witch stuck in the mob farm. I was hoping to get a piece of redstone from the witch since it would be really useful to have, but unfortunately it didn't drop anything. Also, if you made it this far into the video and you like the content that I'm making, then subscribing to the channel would be super appreciated. I'm constantly making new content and subscribing helps out the channel greatly. Thanks again, and let's get into day 21. On day 21, I went back to the pigment farm and continued to farm some gold. My new priority for this world was to increase the amount of dirt I had, that way I can make more crops and farms. To do this, I was going to need to get gravel from bartering and make coarse dirt to get more. So from here on out, a lot of my time spent in this challenge was just farming gold and bartering, since I needed so much gold to get the gravel I needed. I also decided to put walls up in the gold farm killing room just to feel a bit more protected from the ghast floating around. I probably should have spawn-proofed the platform, that way the ghast couldn't spawn, but it was a bit too late for that now. I got some good loot from bartering, including leather, which I used to make some item frames. I used these item frames to label each chest in my house, as well as framing my very first wood pick. On day 22, I started off the day by converting some of the coarse dirt I had, and I made some normal dirt. To do this, all I had to do was turn the coarse dirt into path blocks, and I just dug it all up, which converted it into normal dirt. And the rest of the day I just devoted to farming gold and bartering. On day 23, I picked up where I left off, and I continued farming gold. While using the farm, another chicken jockey decided to spawn. So I carefully got the chicken out of the killing chamber, and I brought it back to the overworld so I could breed the two of them. Now that I had two chickens, I could continuously breed them as much as I wanted to. I also got some soul speed boots from the gold farm, which were pretty nice to have. On day 24, it was just another uneventful day of using the gold farm. I did also manage to get a looting one sword, but I'm not sure how useful it would be since it's pretty much weak and would break after one swing. Day 25 marks the halfway point of the series. I made more coarse dirt with the gravel I'd gotten from bartering, and I turned it all into dirt. And then I just spent the rest of the day once again farming gold. On day 26, for some reason the recording froze. Luckily, it wasn't a very eventful day, it was just me farming some gold and doing some bartering. And even though the recording is frozen, you can still hear the sounds of pigmen being slaughtered in the background. On day 27, I decided to use my hard-earned iron from bartering and made myself an iron pick. I thought the best use for it was to mine as much cobble as I could until it broke, and I managed to get about 3 stacks of cobble once it broke, which was pretty good. On day 28, I decided it was a good time to expand the island once more. This time, I was going to make an area that was specifically for farms. I quickly ran out of cobble, so I decided it would be efficient to make another iron pick to harvest more cobble. And I finished the day off by completing the platform of the island expansion. On day 29, I put some walls around the platform just to make sure that I didn't go and fall off. I also had to move the chicken farm since it was now kind of in the way of the newly built expansion. And I ended the day by starting work on the melon and pumpkin farm. And then on day 30, I finished the pumpkin and melon farm and also started the sugarcane farm. On day 31, I started my day by breeding the chickens. I had been breeding them for quite a while now, and there were a good amount of them. Next, I spent the majority of my day by just finishing the sugarcane farm. I also made a quick netherwort farm too. And now that all of these farms were built, all that there was left to do was just wait for them to grow. On day 32, I swapped one of the furnaces in my house with the smoker. This would definitely come in handy when it came time to cooking all of the raw chicken, since the smoker cooks stuff faster than the normal furnace. And I just spent the rest of the day farming gold and bartering. I also reached level 69 while using the gold farm. Nice. Day 33 was just another routine day of doing various tasks. I farmed some gold, I bred the chickens a bit, and I made some more dirt. And I ended the day by just mining some more cobble. Day 34, I thought it'd be a good idea to have a separate area for a tree farm. I put the platform right next to my house, and I thought it would look cool if I elevated it in the air a bit. I got a good portion of it completed by the end of day 34, with the platform itself being mostly finished. And so day 35 was spent wrapping up the tree farm. I finished the platform, put some walls around it, and placed the dirt down where I would plant the trees. I made sure to leave some room between the dirt and the edge of the platform just to make sure none of the saplings fell into the void when harvesting the trees. And I ended day 35 by harvesting the various farms I had just made. Day 36, I chopped all of the trees down from my original tree farm and then planted all the saplings at the new one. I also decided it would be a good idea to try and grow some grass in the plains biome that was located behind my mob farm. This was because animals have a good chance of naturally spawning in that biome if there's grass on the ground, which is why it was so important to keep the grass blocks in this world. It was going to take a while since I didn't have silk touch and I was going to have to wait for the grass to slowly grow all the way over there. And at the end of the day, this random pigman decided to move into my house. On day 37, since I needed more dirt for the grass platform, I spent the entire day trying to get more gravel from bartering. On day 38, I continued my quest to get more dirt and kept farming gold. While in my house, I had some eggs in my inventory and decided to throw them on the ground just for the heck of it, which ended up spawning a chicken, and now I had 2 roommates. I also realized I could keep ender pearls I had gotten from bartering in my inventory, just as a last resort if I ever fall into the void and needed to clutch a pearl. Day 39, my chicken roommate had enough of me and left the house, and while processing this betrayal, I thought I should make myself a shield since it was a good use for my iron. And then I just spent the rest of the day bartering with piglins. Day 40, the first part of the day, I spent just harvesting some of my farms. I also decided it was finally time to equip some armor. I made leather leggings and a chestplate, and made a gold helmet to make sure that the piglins didn't attack me. I ended the day by making a platform down below to get rid of some of the spawn island dirt. I also accidentally made a glow squid farm with the water I used spilling off the edge into the void. On day 41, I made a new cobble farm that was located right behind my house. It was essentially the same design as before, I just wanted to have a cobble farm that wasn't in the way. And once it was complete, I got rid of the old cobble farm and got rid of all of the dirt it spawned as well. Day 42, I tried to add more dirt to make it spread faster. I also continued to breed the chickens, with there being a ton of them in there now. I later tried to get more iron from bartering to make a hopper for the cobble generator. That way I wouldn't lose as much cobble, making the farm more efficient, but unfortunately I was unlucky and didn't get any. And so I ended day 42 by harvesting all the trees in my new tree farm. Day 43 was just another boring day that I spent farming gold for dirt and iron. Day 44, my melon and pumpkin farm was now complete, with all the soil being filled up with seeds, and I just spent the rest of the day farming gold in the nether. Day 45, I was able to make more dirt using the gravel I got from bartering. I was also running low once again on bread, so I bone mealed some wheat and made more bread. This was probably going to be the last time that I needed to make more bread, with my chicken farm almost being filled up. I noticed that my melon and pumpkin farm was taking a long time to grow, and realized that the problem was they needed dirt to grow on. So I changed out the cobble with dirt, and that seemed to do the trick. Day 46, I just sporadically made a water cube thing for no real reason other than to fill up my island. There may be no point to it, but at least it's a conversation piece, I guess. Day 47, I finally had enough dirt to make the animal spawning platform. I made the platform a 9x9 area, which hopefully was enough space to get at least a few animals to spawn. Unfortunately though, I was running out of time with day 50 just being around the corner, and I didn't think that the grass would be able to spread in time. Day 48, I finally decided it was time to kill some of the chickens for food. Before I killed them, I wanted to breed them one last time, and while I was breeding them, I picked up literally an entire inventory of eggs. So I decided I had to go and put some chests down to store all the eggs, and then I just killed a bunch of the chickens and cooked all the raw meat. I also saw that the melon and pumpkin farm was almost fully grown and harvested it. Day 49, I made a roof access ladder for my house, which would come in handy later. While I was making some home improvements, I also upgraded the main window in my house by using trapdoors. I also got this blast protection leather chest plate from the mob farm. I thought if I made a grindstone I could repair it, but unfortunately it would remove the enchantments from it. And so day 50, I bone mealed the grass to get flowers for dyes. For the last day of this challenge, I wanted to celebrate by launching some rockets into the night sky. So I crafted rockets using the dyes and got about a stack of red and yellow rockets. While waiting for night to come, I did one final harvest of my crops. And for the rest of the day, I went onto the roof of my house while the sun set. And when night finally came, I fired all the rockets into the night sky. And so after that, I had officially survived 50 days in hardcore Skyblock. I really enjoyed this challenge, with it being fun to work with the limited resources I was given and trying to survive in hardcore Minecraft. I hope also that this was a fun video for you guys to watch too. If you enjoyed this video and you would maybe want to see me survive 100 days, let me know in the comments below. So thank you guys for sticking around until the end, and I will see you guys in the next video.